my former colleague, Councillor Jim Stenke, who is the former cabinet member for neighborhood and community safety. So I'm very pleased that he is here with us. Jim, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much for inviting me on your show.
Jim, thank you very much for your time, your precious time. You must have been very busy with your constituents. You must have been busy with the local community organizations and charities, making sure that constituents of yours and the great people of our city are getting benefit and getting the guidance. You must have followed the HMRC website. So first of all, I think first of all, let me clarify. We were going to discuss two topics. One was the government introduced a scheme which the people who were employed and unfortunately they are on furlough, they uh, or they may have lost jobs as well. So basically, that scheme is live from today, so people can make start processing, making claims. But the second was the people who were self-employed. So their businesses, their trade must have been impacted adversely by the coronavirus. So what options were available for them? So my understanding is that that scheme is not available at the moment, is not live yet. But if it will be live by the middle of May. Uh, and can I ask Jim what that scheme is for self-employed people? Because here there is very important information we need to pass on, because the deadlines for some actions to be taken by the self-employed people. So they need to get ready when this scheme will be live in the middle of May, and then the HMRC or the government will be able to put the claimed money into their accounts. So first of all, can you tell me what this scheme is all about?
Okay. Um, if you can forgive me, occasionally I may have to refer to my notes because this is quite complicated. But basically, the government has now acknowledged that with the numbers of self-employed people, and there are many in the country now, and they've actually been encouraging people to go self-employed, that there had to be a scheme in place. Now, obviously, they've prioritised the employment protection retention scheme because of that. There's a lot more people involved in that. But there are significant numbers, several million self-employed people in this country now. So what they're trying to do at the moment, and as Maruf has said, this is not live at the moment, it is coming, is what is called the Self-Employment Income Support Scheme, which is CEIS. It is not online at the moment in terms of actually applying for it, but it will be. And as soon as it goes online, there'll be announcements about that. And as said, it will be coming on stream the middle of May. This is the when it will be possible to apply for it, with payments being made by early June. Now, obviously, that's still if you're running a business, that's still quite a way away. But what is important between now and then, as Maruf has said, is that we need to make sure that if you're self-employed, you are registered with HMRC. And the main way that gets done is through submitting your returns. They should have gone by the beginning of April, but the new deadline is the 23rd of April, which is only 3 days' time. So it's really important that if you've got returns to be made to the HMRC, that those go as soon as possible. Now, in terms of what the scheme will actually offer, will be 80% of trading profits up to £2,500 a month. Now that is you know, for some people that may be kind of quite a lot, and others a little, depending on the size of your business. But the actual scheme itself will exclude people in terms of from making more than £50,000 a year profit, and it recognises that profits for some businesses are seasonal. So some months you'll have very little, and other months more. And it's important that the HMRC have your full tax returns to know that how the kind of profits go throughout the year. The scheme initially is for 3 months, but may be extended. My personal view is I think it probably will be extended. So it's important that you apply for that and register, even if you're not kind of immediately going to be wanting that grant. The grant will be subject to income tax and national insurance contributions, but will not need to be repaid. It is a grant, it's not a loan. And you can claim for universal credit while waiting for the grant. And the grant will be seen as self-employment income when the grant's actually been made. And so it may affect the level of the universal credit when you start getting that grant. However, the universal credit that you will be eligible now will be at a high amount until you actually get the self-employment income support grant. If you get the grant, you can continue to work or take other employment, including voluntary work. It's a grant to mark against your loss of self-employment. If you've got other employment, then the other employer, your employer, may get the support through the job retention scheme that we're going to talk about. So that you should not suffer in terms of your loss of income there. There's the issue. We'll talk more about the 80% when we get there. But the important thing is a bit about getting advice on this. And the government website on the self-employment income support grant scheme is very comprehensive. It's quite complex, but it's comprehensive. And I think if you read that, you'll get a sense of what you're eligible for, what you're not. You're not getting overhead costs for this, but you are getting a significant amount of what would have been trading profits in terms of the 80%. But it's also the particular complex bit is about where you may have loans in terms of repayment of those loans and explaining how the grant could be used against the repayment of those loans as well. But again, it's really important, as Maruf has said at the beginning, that you get if you're going along this route, that you both read the guidelines carefully, and if you can't read them, get someone else to read for you. And that if you're in any doubts, then you try and get advice. And there are kind of people that the government will give advice. There are independent people that give advice as well.
Jim, we are fully aware, but at the top of your head, what do you think? What sort of people who are self-employed will take the benefit of this scheme? Start from taxi drivers.
Yes, I think it's anyone that is submitting tax returns, as self-employed to the HMRC, and it's in terms of the last 3 years. I'm just checking my notes now.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah, so I think it gives you a list on the website of who's eligible and who won't be eligible. But most people, I think, that have kind of submitted that to HMRC will now be eligible for this grant, the grant support scheme when it comes in.
So how many self-assessments the government will consider? My understanding is 2016, 2017, the self-assessment or accounts for must have been submitted. 2016, 2017, 2017, 2018, and 2018 and 2019. My next question is, the people have been asking, because the tax in normal times, the tax returns for 2018-19 normally this they can be submitted by September. Okay, but because the government is going to rely on the information for the last 3 years, three accounts, uh, so the government has said they have set the deadlines that by this deadline you must submit your self-assessment forms, and if you don't, you will not be able to claim, you will not be able to get the benefit of the scheme. So what is that deadline, Jim?
So the deadline, as I said, to get the previous year's form should have kind of gone in obviously by now. There's a deadline being set for the 23rd in terms of for the HMRC to register that, and then it's the the deadline is an assessment will be made based on the previous 3 years, as you have said, about this year's likely profit. It feels very arbitrary, to be honest. But in terms of how the government actually assesses, because if you're self-employed, you will often not know in advance how much profit you're actually going to make over the course of the year. And I think that the fact that this is probably the most common sense way of actually doing it, which is looking at over the last 3 years. The reality is that a lot of businesses will be suffering anyway, regardless of the corona crisis, not just for this year, but for future years as well. And I think that is something that the government needs to address as well. Again, it's important that tax returns for this year kind of get returned as soon as possible for next year as well.
So in short words, the people who haven't submitted their their self-assessment forms through their accountants or their own, they must do that by the 23rd of this month. If
which is 3 days time.
If they don't, so then obviously they will not be able to claim. They will not be able to get the benefit of this scheme. I can understand there are some people. There must be some people. My own personal situation is I lost my job in last year, so I had two jobs. So obviously my income was different in those years, and now it will be different. So obviously, if my self-employment income has been increased, so obviously I need to submit the forms as quickly as possible, making sure that the government is able to use that information to assess my claim, so then I can get the right amount for myself and my family. So therefore, the advice is, if you haven't, please contact your accountants. Please visit the HMRC website and get the advice as quickly as possible. Our advice here is only a superficial advice. That's not. We can't say this is 100% expert advice. And if anything goes wrong, so Jammu Kashmir Television is not responsible for that wrong advice given. So therefore, our advice to you is, and the warning is, before you act upon our advice, before you follow our advice, so basically you must double check with your people who are expert like your accountants, and then you take actions as quickly as possible. Jim, thank you very much for your information, and then we will come back with this when it will be live again. But at the moment, because the government have introduced another scheme for those people who lost their jobs or the people who are on furlough, if they have been asked, if they have been considered by their employers that the businesses have been adversely impacted, and due to the loss of business, obviously the employers were not able to continue their business. So, and then their employees must have been asked to go home, and just you are on furlough. Those people now can claim 80% of their income, up to £2,500 a month, and then that scheme is live now. Jim, can you? What are you going to say to those people who are on furlough or the people who have lost their jobs?
Well, firstly, I think anyone that's lost their jobs through this, it's very sad, and I think the government quite rightly has tried um, preventing as many job losses as possible. Obviously, because of the individual tragedy that may be, and not wanting high unemployment figures, although they've gone up significantly, and as we can see by the claims for universal credit, um, but also for the sake of the general economy. So I understand why they're doing that. The issue is a bit about whether or not 80%, and I'm not making a political point here, but just a hard economic one, whether 80% is sufficient to enable organizations to continue to employ someone at that. And there is arguments that it should have been 100%. And the government, I think, is currently kind of considering that. But as it stands at the moment, it's 80%. And as Maruf said, that's up to £2,500 a month. And that is both covering the 80% of the employee wages, the employer's national insurance, and the pension contributions. And those contributions are up to the level of the minimum employment, the minimum enrollment employer pension contributions. So it's not, if someone's got a amazingly good pension scheme, to be honest, that's not going to get covered from this, but the minimum pension contribution will be. And all those workers whose wages are being paid is what this is new term of furlough that is suddenly everyone's talking about, and everyone, if they're not furloughed themselves, will know people that have been, and that is the kind of main scheme that's now kind of rolling out. It's for 4 months, and it became effective from the 1st of March. It may be extended. I suspect it will be, and it can be used anytime. In that it's not just you know, if you come into it now, it's, you don't have to have been in it at the start to use that, and you can apply online. If you apply online, there is help available, and that is kind of is certainly, I've had feedback from that they've found that very helpful, and they've taken on a lot of extra staff to enable that to be done. In terms of eligibility, you must have been having to pay, but basically pay PAYE, pay as you earn, before the 19th of March this year, the 19th of March. So it's not people who are employed after that. You must have been enrolled for PAYE online. So if you're employed for any reason, you're not enrolled for PAYE online, then your employer has to do that. And you have to have a UK bank account in terms of that being paid into. And they are the 3 main eligibility criteria. There was particular issues about apprentices, and I'm addressing this to some people, viewers who may be apprentices or have apprentices. They can be furloughed in the same way, and they can continue to train within that time. So if there's a kind of online training they're doing, that's fine. However, it has to be paid at least at the apprentice minimum wage, or the national living wage, or the national minimum wage, in terms of whatever is appropriate. And there may be a position where the apprentice has to then be paid at that, and the employer may need to make up that gap in terms of between, which will not necessarily, because the wages are quite low, not necessarily that great, but it is, in order to get that grant, they'll have to kind of make up that gap. And that goes back to the issue about whether or not wages should be paid at 100% or not. And that may well change depending on how long the crisis goes on, whether it comes back again. Because I need to qualify any of my remarks as the fact that we're in a current shutdown now, but there may well be a different shutdown later in the year or next year. The nature of the virus is that it is likely to come back, and it depends on how well we tackle it this time round. So whatever scheme we have set up now needs to be robust enough to kind of come into place, both for the wage support, but also for the self-employed support as well.
Thank you very much, Jim. Once again, we're going to give the warning. Want to make sure that before you start making claims, can you please make sure that you get advice, get in touch with your HR at your workplace, get in touch with your employer, or get the legal advice. Will be available. Most information is available on HMRC website or through your accountants or whichever people you think they are expert in that field. So Jammu Kashmir Television, Muhammad Maroof or Councillor Jim Stenke is not responsible for any advice given, and if anything goes wrong. So from this scheme is live already, so you can start making claims and get in touch and go and visit the HMRC website as quickly as possible. So the government aim is or HMRC aim is that as quickly as possible by the end of this month, all claims made, the money will be going into employees' accounts. So this is good news that this scheme is live, and we will be waiting for the scheme to go live for the self-employed people as well. So soon that is live, so we will come back with that information. And in the meantime, once again, I remind the people who haven't been able to submit their self-assessment forms, the deadline for those self-assessment form is 23rd of April. If you are unable to submit your self-assessment, the government very clearly said, HMRC very clearly said, you will not be able to make claim because the government will not have enough information for your last three accounts. So then get in touch with your accountants as quickly as possible to make sure that you have submitted your self-assessment by the 23rd of April. Jim, the next two questions, because you are counselor for Leatherhead and Shire Ward, and you represent Leatherhead and Shire Ward at Sheffield City Council. The many people have been asking questions about their council tax, about their business rates, and their rents. I was reading upon an information which has been sent by Shelter, a national charity for homeless people. So their estimate is 1.7 million people will lose their jobs who normally pay rents. So if the people who are tenants of Sheffield City Council, so what arrangements the Sheffield City Council has made to help those people who have lost their jobs because of the coronavirus epidemic?
Okay, so if I could take each of the different payments in turn, I'll take the council tax first because I think that is something that impacts on everyone. There is a national petition at the moment going on to suspend payment of council tax, which I can understand. The issue is that the councils need, if that was to be the case, councils would need to have a source of funding from the government. That would be the only way to actually make up the costs of that. There is currently a kind of a drop in council tax because of anyway without that, and as well as the additional demands that are being put on the local authority in terms of responding to the virus and crisis. So that still remains to be pointed out. There has been this week a further £1.6 billion being made available to local authorities. There was a previous 1.6 million a few weeks ago. That is to prioritise working with vulnerable people, both elderly people and with children, and particularly kind of a refuse collection. But there are still a lot of other council services that are currently going to be kind of potentially suffering from that. So what has been created is nationally is a £50 million hardship fund around council tax relief for vulnerable people and households, and that is being kind of dished out to different local authorities on the basis of their need. My personal view is I think it sounds a lot of money, 500 million, but in terms of going across the country, I don't think it's that significant, and it may well be as the lockdown and the crisis goes on that may be topped up more. There is a guidance being issued about how our local authorities allocate that, and the funding is to enable further reduction in council tax for working age people in receipt of local council tax support already. So those people who have been getting kind of reductions in their council tax for whatever circumstances, there may be more people receiving from reduction from that. What is unclear at this point is how that will pick up people who's have not been in support of council tax up to now, but need to will because of their changing circumstances, and we need to pick that up as soon as possible. So if you go onto the Sheffield City Council website, there's an explanation of this, and it is important that any change in circumstances that people have, either if they're in receipt of the council tax support already and their situation's worsened, or that they've just lost their job and they need that support, to report that online as soon as possible, asking if they want help in terms of that to both for council tax reduction, any other benefits. There's a particular issue about the single person discount that you get at the moment in terms of living on your own. That will, if someone comes in to stay with you temporarily, that will not be affected. So that's something that often kind of happens where people, circumstances change in terms of who they live with. But if you get it already, that will continue if someone comes to live with you. But I think the key thing about that is that if you need, you're changing circumstances, you need to consider your council tax, then to apply online and report those changes to the local authority, and there will be advice given as to what kind of reduction in council tax you'll be eligible for. And if you're getting it already, then potentially there will be more support available for you, and it will be done on need, based on people's need, in terms of how that hardship fund will be used. And again, there's no that fund has been set up with no particular time frame. It's just as the total amount. But as kind of the lockdown goes over and greater demands are being made on that, there will be kind of, I think, more money being made available for that hardship fund. But that's important that hardship fund is not taking money away from to support council tax reductions from services, money that's for services, but is additional income from the national government to local authorities to give more council tax relief to vulnerable people and households.
Thank you, Jim.
In terms of rent, council house rents, there is, like any landlord, there is a situation at the moment that for 3 months has basically been a 3 months period where if people cannot afford to pay their rent, whether that's private rented, housing association, the local authority, people cannot take, that the action cannot be taken in that context, but it's affecting an awful lot of people. As Maruf has said, 1.7 million job loss at the moment that will kind of have an impact, but significantly more than that will have a loss of income that will impact on their ability to pay rent. There will be a need to sort out as to what benefits people may be eligible for, and this is a crucial bit about universal credit, that as soon as people recognise that their circumstances have changed, even if it's only for maybe a temporary period, that claims for universal credit are registered, even though that there is so many people applying at the moment, and there's potentially an even greater wait, although lots more staff have been taken on to actually deal with universal credit at the moment. But it is not a rent. I need to be clear. This is not a rent holiday. The assumption is that rent will be paid, but no action will be taken on the basis of not paying rent, whether in the private rented sector or the public sector, for the next 3 months, and that may be extended as well. I know there are currently discussions about that within Parliament. There's the whole issue about rate relief, and there is currently a business rates holiday for three months. There are other kind of criteria as well. I could read through them, but I'll be honest, I think the main thing is probably to go onto the Sheffield City Council website, and if you just put in rates relief, business rates, there's a very good, it's very clear as to what's eligible for what, how you apply for what, and I would very much suggest that, and that will also be giving advice on residential rates and non-residential rates, as well as the business rates as well. The other thing, quite
sorry, Jim, there was interruption. There was.
You need as much
Jim?
support as you can at the moment, and look
Jim?
at whether or not you can still apply for those.
Sorry for interruption, Jim. Jim, there was an interruption. You'll have to start it again.
Right. Where shall I start again from?
If you can start it again from where you left before the advert.
The advert. Okay. I didn't say. I wasn't looking at my notes. Shall I go through the council tax position from there, or from rate relief?
Council tax position has been very cleared. You have said that people need to visit the Sheffield City Council website to find out more about how they can claim hardship, and there are some funds available to help those people who have lost their jobs with their council tax and rents. And you was, I think, discussing about the landlord's situation, what options people are left with when they are privately rented accommodation. And also you mentioned that the people can apply, people can make arrangements with the landlords for up to 3 months, and my understanding is the landlords can also make arrangements with their lenders.
Yes, absolutely.
For 3 months. So obviously, both landlords and the tenants will get the benefit of these some concessions. So therefore, I think that is very, very clear. So the people, if they're struggling, if they lost their jobs, so they need to make arrangements with their landlords, and landlords, obviously, if they're paying buy-to-let mortgages or whichever mortgages or loans, so basically they can make arrangements with the government have issued very clear instructions for banks and building societies and all other money lending organizations, making sure that at this very difficult time they do their best to help those people who have lost their jobs or are struggling to pay the loans or the mortgages back. So I think those arrangements are clear. On one thing, Jim,
could I just say something about landlords, because I think it is very important that we need to recognize, focus has been on protecting tenants, which I support, but I do think that the position that a lot of landlords will have been put in, as you said, will have got mortgages to pay on the property, will also have taken out loans, and it's really important that they landlords kind of recognise that the government is expecting banks to actually be tolerant on this as well. I mean, this is in the way that there was, the banks were supported 12 years ago at the start of the financial crisis. This financial crisis is affecting a wide range of people, and I think that we should start with the expectation that the banks are kind of tolerant in terms of with a range of people who have got loans with them, and I think particularly kind of landlords, in terms of who we need to make sure that they're not kind of because of the circumstances that they can't get the rent in, that they're then kind of having people kind of not responding to their difficulties at the other end. So I suppose as a message I would say to any landlord, if your bank is not being cooperative, then you really need to point out to them that they that they are expected to be tolerant certainly for the next 3 months as well.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Jim. I have been following the advice from the leader of the Sheffield City Council, who in the beginning said that the Sheffield City Council is going to postpone the collection of business rates from those businesses who have been closed, and the first payment they will be expecting in the beginning of May. My question is, that was the situation of the lockdown in the beginning, and now the lockdown has been extended for further 3 weeks, and there are expectations that it may be extended for further weeks. Even if not, it will take time for businesses when there is some ease. Government is going to lift the lockdown for some time, so it is going to take time for businesses to make enough profit to pay the business rates. So you must have been part of the decisions of the Sheffield City Council at the Labour Group. What discussions took place in those circumstances when the lockdown has been extended? So the advice to the officers is that we are not expecting any payment until for the 3 weeks.
Yeah, to be honest, the Labour Group as such hasn't been operating in the last few weeks because of obvious reasons in terms of major decisions like this. I can give my personal view, which is following on from what you've said, Maruf, which is, it seems to me that this is more than just a 1 month problem in terms of business rate relief, and I think that is something that maybe local authorities, not just Sheffield, but other local authorities need to look at in the context of additional funding from the government. And bearing in mind that it was only Friday that there was actually further kind of government grant to local authorities agreed. And I think in the context of that, part of what we need to be looking at is whether or not there's a further extension of the business rates holiday. It would seem to me to make logical sense for that to happen, because the last thing that we want or anyone wants, and if you're an employer or employee, is for businesses to go out of business at the moment. And I know as a local councillor for Netherwich and Sharrow, I'm really conscious of all the businesses along London Road, Abbeydale Road that are closed at the moment, and I'm fearful about some of them opening. And I think that the loss of smaller businesses who would be most hardly hit by the business rates it's very worrying, and we need to kind of make things as positive as possible in the very difficult circumstances for businesses to continue, and whether that's through the council tax rate relief, business support grants, self-employment grants, employment retention schemes. There needs to be a package of measures, both by the national government and local government, to ensure that businesses are in a position to continue.
I agree completely.
So I'm very happy taking that on to propose, make a proposal in terms of council that we look at where the business rates holiday will be coming, and we have a discussion with all councillors this coming Friday, and I'm very happy raising that as an issue in that context.
Thank you, Jim. I completely agree with you. There must be a consistency. It's not only the Sheffield City Council model. In fact, this model should be followed by all rest of the councils across the country, and the government must have consistency. In the past, I can understand there was some professional treatment or discriminatory treatment with the council in terms of funding formula, but which has impacted adversely or really badly the councils and the people living in North. But now is the time. The people across the country are impacted, and they are losing their lives. They're losing their businesses. So the government must have a consistent policy, not only for one council or one area, south or north. So it must be consistent with the all parts of the UK and all parts of the country where people can get benefit, and government must be available to make sure that the schemes are well used, and the advice, help, and financial help particularly is available for those people who have lost their jobs, and the risk of losing their businesses as well. Jim, you have very good experience being a former chief executive for Northern Refugee Center, and when you was cabinet member for communities, the Citizen Advice Bureau or other advice agencies, advice providing agencies comes under your portfolio at the council. I can understand the Sheffield City Council had the best resources available across the country. When you compare that, who were the best one, who were providing enough resources, not even enough, the best one across the country to all citizen advice bureaus and advice providing agencies, making sure that they provide advice during the new arrangements for credit, universal credit, and during the bedroom tax situation and all the stuff. So is it the still similar situation? Your colleagues at the council are minding that the advice providing agencies, including citizen advice bureaus, will play an important role in terms of guiding people or helping people to make sure that they are able to get the full benefit of these schemes. Because I can understand there are communities who are vulnerable, there are communities who have no access to the internet. The libraries, which were the best resource for those people, they have been closed. The Citizen Advice Bureau must be having difficulties in terms of providing face-to-face advice. So under these circumstances, what is the situation? You must have been in touch with the cabinet member responsible for Citizen Advice Bureau and providing them help. Are they doing good, or do they need some more support?
My personal view is I think Sheffield Citizens Advice and other CABs across the country are doing an amazing job in such difficult circumstances, bearing in mind that possibility of face-to-face advice, which has been at the heart of advice giving for so long, is no longer really possible. I think that the Sheffield Citizens Advice has made a transition to online advice, telephone advice, and telephone advice very successfully. But it also we need to recognise that this, even when we come out of lockdown, even arguably when we've found some kind of way of minimising the virus, whether that's through testing or through a vaccine, there is still going to be so many more poorer people in this country, and also organisations who that we've kind of taken for granted, who may no longer be here. Some of the bigger businesses that will kind of downsize considerably, or some close. And when that happens, there's lots more unemployed people almost overnight. And I think that's going to put enormous strain on advice services as well. But I think it's important that we look at a wider, field of advice work that we need to make sure is available for different groups of people. And we've both talked about the importance of smaller businesses, business people kind of getting advice before making decisions, but we need to make sure there's people there to give that advice. And I think that one of the things we need to, and I'm not suggesting that Shefford's advice, but we need to make sure that there are organisations around who can give trusted advice, not just what your friend might say, what they read somewhere, but people who know what they're talking about, who will give advice to organisations that are having to make very difficult decisions about their future. So I'd appeal to everyone who's having to make decisions about their business to really think it through, and the longer term, and as well as the kind of immediate kind of term of just cash flow and what they can keep doing. And we need to also ensure that they kind of know how to kind of treat people legally as well. So if you're having to kind of sack people, and that's never very nice, but if that has to happen, that you do it legally, etc. And likewise, where looking at kind of a position with private rental sector, that the problems that landlords are going to maybe having will be even worse in future. And we need to kind of find ways in which we support landlords so they can get good advice, both about their properties, how they deal with tenants, and a way forward. So I don't like saying we're all in this together, because we're not. It affects different people in different ways. But I think the absolute importance, as you say, Maruf, of advice, I think is needed more than ever in this country. And it's very interesting, because if you look at the history of the Citizens Advice Bureau, it came out at the end of, one of the things that lots of things came out of the end of the Second World War in 1945, the NHS and the welfare state, etc. But one of the things came out was actually the CAB. That was formed from advice services that were set up during the war. And I think that we're in a position now that so many people are needing advice about so many different things that this crisis will have impacted on, that we need to be looking at how we provide the best advice service over the next few years for everyone.
Jim, it was lovely to have you on my show, which is a brand new show, and that
That's
I
great,
am so
thank you.
privileged that you have took time after your busy schedule, and to have an expert advice for your constituents and the people who are listening across the world and across the UK. Um, uh, Otherwise, I'm sure you're okay. You're doing very well, keeping it well, keep safe. And I will continue for next 10, 15 minutes to explain whatever we have discussed in native Pahari language. For those people who are listening, not only here, there are so many people who have been stranded in Kashmir, in Pakistan, so they must be listening to this program as well. So there'll be some discussion for them. They must be worried about their families. So I will discuss a little bit, not discuss, I will explain whatever we have discussed in 10, 15 minutes. And have a nice evening, and speak to you soon, Jim.
Okay, well, it's a privilege to be on your program, and my best wishes to all the viewers, but also I'm aware that lots of people will know people who are ill and worried about them, and also just the sheer number of people who are distant in other parts of the world and can't get back here. And I hope that all those people that need to come back, want to come back to this country, we manage to sort that as soon as possible. So thank you for inviting me.
Wish you well. Thank you. नाज़रीन, ये साड़ा पहला शो सी जिसना ना असां रखिया कि हुन क्या करां, जेड़े भी हालात कोरोना वायरस तो बाद हुन तक होए न, उस तो बाद लोगों ने जिहड़ियां जॉब्स खत्म हो गईयां, लोगों ने बिजनेस खत्म हो गए, लोगों कौंसल टैक्स पे करना सी, लोगों बिजनेस रेट्स पे करने सन, लोगों रेंट पे करना सी, लोगों मोर्गेज पे करनियां। तो ये सारी जिहड़ी चीज़ है ये इस गल नाल रिलेटेड सी कि लोगों ने जिहड़ी इनकम जदों आई रही है उन्होंने जिहड़ी ट्रेड है उस तो जिथों उन्होंने प्रॉफिट आई रहा तो वो ये सारी चीज़ां पे करने सन। लेकिन कोरोना वायरस की वजह तो जदों उन्होंने जॉब्स खत्म हो गई, बिजनेस खत्म हो गया, सेल्फ इंप्लॉयमेंट खत्म हो गई, तो ऐसे हालात विच वो लोग क्या करन। सो अज असां इस पहले शो विच एक गल डिस्कस कीती कौंसल जिम स्टैंकी नाल कि जेड़े के फॉर्मर कैबिनेट मेंबर ने शेफी सिटी कौंसल ने नेबरहुड ने और कम्युनिटी सेफ्टी ने और उन्होंने अपना भी बड़ा एक्सटेंसिव एक्सपीरियंस है नॉर्दर्न रिफ्यूजी सेंटर ने चीफ एग्जीक्यूटिव की हैसियत नाल प्लस जो वो कैबिनेट मेंबर सन तो उस दौरान उन्होंने जो सिटीजन एडवाइस ब्यूरो या जितनी एडवाइस प्रोवाइडिंग एजेंसीज ने उनकी भी फंडिंग उन्होंने रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी सी जिम्मेदारी सी कि वो उनकी इनफ रिसोर्सेज दें ताकि लोगों की बेस्ट एडवाइस और रिप्रेजेंटेशन जी ना मिले सो उन्हें बड़ी जबरदस्त जी है ना असा की अज इतना एडवाइस जी दी है मैं इतों इस गल शुरू करसा सब तो पहले कि गवर्नमेंट जिसलै कोरोना वायरस ने हालात शुरू होए तो उस वक्त गवर्नमेंट सब तो पहले ये स्कीम कड़ी उन्हें पता सी कि बहुत सारे लोग एक कम करसन कि आप उन्होंने जॉब्स खत्म हो जसन बिजनेस बंद हो जसन ट्रेड खत्म हो जसी लोग कार बही जसन तो फिर क्या करसा वो जेडे लोग किस तरह गुजारा करसन अपनी फैमिली दियां किस तरह करसन उन्हें लुक आफ्टर और अपना कार किसे चलासन खाना कुतों खासन तो प्लस जेडे बिजनेस जिन्हें लोगों बड़ी मेहनत करी अपने बिजनेस सेटअप किए तो अगर उन्होंने जेडे वर्कर्स ने वो कार जी बही गए उन्होंने बिजनेस बंद हो गए तो फिर मुल्क की वापस उसकी इकानमी की ठीक करना ये बड़ा औखा हो जैसी इस वास्ते गवर्नमेंट 2-3-4 किस्म दी स्कीमां एकम कीतियां इंट्रोड्यूस कीतियां और नाल ही एकम कीता ने उन्होंने वास्ते फंडिंग भी प्रोवाइड की ने वो फंडिंग इनफ है या नहीं इनफ वो चलो अस उस पर बाद से एकम कर डिस्कशन करसा असन कोई मकसद इसलिए पॉलिटिक्स या पोलिटिकल पॉइंट स्कोरिंग नहीं साड़ा कोई मकसद नहीं है इस वक्त अस सिर्फ और सिर्फ ये मेक श्योर करने की कोशिश करने पे कि जिन्हें लोगों की इंफॉर्मेशन उन्हें तक नहीं पहुंची रही है उन्हें किस इंफॉर्मेशन किस तरह पहुंचा किस तरह लोग गवर्नमेंट स्कीम्स को फायदा उठा सकते तो सब तो पहली तो ये जी खबर है वो कि गवर्नमेंट एक स्कीम इंट्रोड्यूस की सी उन लोगों वास्ते कि जेडे लोग अपनी जॉब उन्होंने खत्म हो गई है और वो लोग कि जेडे स्टिल उस कंपनी ने उस बिजनेस ने एम्प्लॉय तो थे लेकिन उन्हें ये गल आख्या गया कि तुम एक कम करो कार जाओ और कार चले जाओ क्योंकि असल बिजनेस जो ऑपरेट नहीं करना पाया मिसाल के तौर पर मैं की मिसाल दी छोड़ा स्कूल है नहीं स्कूल जो बंद हो गए हूँ टीचर जोड़े या जो उन्होंने जो स्टाफ है वो क्या करन नर्सियां ने जेडे टीचर्स ने वो क्या करन कौंसल जो कुछ वर्कर जी सर्विस क्लोज हो गई वो वर्कर्स हूँ कार चले गए उन्हें जॉब तो लूज नहीं की लेकिन स्टिल उसने पर है लेकिन यह है कि उनकी वो जो स्मॉल बिजनेस वो तो नहीं उनकी एकम करने के तनख्वाह दे सकने सो गवर्नमेंट ये गल आख्या कि तुम अपनी तनख्वाह ना जो 80% है वो तुम एकम करो कि क्लेम कर सकने हो गवर्नमेंट को जी HMRC जी गवर्नमेंट का जो अदारा है HM रेवेन्यूज के पहले आखने सन उसको वो जी स्कीम है वो अज लाइव हो गई है अज तुम उन्होंने वैबसाइट पर जाई तो तुम क्या कर सकते हो कि तुम जिन्होंने लोगों जॉब लूज के छोड़ी है लूज नहीं की सारी जिन्होंने लोगों जॉब जी है वो मौजूद है लेकिन वो कम पर को नहीं जा रहे तो उन्होंने इनकम जी है वो बंद हो गई है सो अज तो वो कम कर के क्लेम करने ने काबिल हो गए और जितना जल्दी मुमकिन हो सकना तुम कम करो कि वैबसाइट पर जाइए एक कम करो कि क्लेम करो और गवर्नमेंट HMRC जी है वो गल आखिरी है कि उन लोगों की पैसे जड़े असा जितना जल्दी मुमकिन हो सकसी बाय द एंड ऑफ अप्रैल इंशाल्लाह उन्होंने अकाउंट में पैसे वो कम कर सके चले जा सकते ये तो ये उन लोगों वास्ते कि जो लोग स्टिल इंप्लॉयड ने लेकिन उथा कम को नहीं करी रहे फिर वो लोग जिन्होंने जॉब लूज हो गई है बिजनेस बंद हो गया कोरोना वायरस की वजह तो वो जॉब लूज करी गए उन लोगों वास्ते एडवाइस है कि गवर्नमेंट ये गल आख्या कि तुम एक कम करो कि जो यूनिवर्सल क्रेडिट है वो एक कम करो कि एज सुन एज पॉसिबल उथे अप्लाई करो कि ताकि तुम इनकम जी है वो इसकी शुरू हुई है यूनिवर्सल क्रेडिट अप्लाई करने नी नाल तुम क्या हो सी कि तुम की जरा हाउसिंग बेनिफिट है वो भी लभसी अगर तुम रेंट पे करी रही होता है कौंसल टैक्स जो बेनिफिट है वो भी तुम की लभसी कि अगर तुम कौंसल टैक्स नो पे करने ने ऑब्वियसली काबर रहे तो वो भी तुम नाल लभी जैसी प्लस तुम की जो अपना गुजारा करने वास्ते पैसे जो वो भी लभी जैसन अगर तुम मोगी पे करने हो तो उसने रूल्स की डिटेल की मैंने जाना कुछ मोगी ऐसी हैं कि जी गवर्नमेंट ना ये कानून है कि इस अरसे तो बाद अगर तुम नियंत है गवर्नमेंट उस की कोई इंसेंटिव या तुम कोई बेनिफिट नहीं देनी लेकिन कुछ मोगी ऐसी हैं कि जी तुम उस अरसे तो पहले से 1992 या 1995 तो पहले जी मोगी कहनी उन्होंने वास्ते गवर्नमेंट भी जी मोगी जाए इंस्टॉलमेंट्स उन्होंने वास्ते की गवर्नमेंट जी वो पैसे देने जी वो शुरू कर दी सो ऑप्शन एक के तुसा गवर्नमेंट ने जी जॉब रिटेंशन जी स्कीम है एम्प्लॉयज़ वास्ते जी स्कीम है उसकी जाई तो लाइव हो गई है अज जाई तो उसकी कम करो क्लेम करो जॉब लूज करी गयो तो फिर जाई तो तुसा कम करो कि यूनिवर्सल क्रेडिट जेड़ा वो अप्लाई करो कि ताकि तुसों की उठूं इनकम शुरू हो जाए जब तक तुसों की और नवी जी जॉब है वो तुसों की कम करने की नहीं लभनी। फिर एक और बड़ी जी सीरियस गल सी कि जिस ट्रेड नाल स्मॉल बिजनेस वो टैक्सी ट्रेड हुई है वो टेकवेज हो जान वो स्मॉल रेस्टोरेंट्स हो जान वो छोटियां दुकाना हो जान उन्होंने जेडे एम्प्लॉयज न वो अगर एसेंशियल सर्विस नहीं है तो वो भी हैवीली इंपैक्ट हुई है उन्होंने सारे जी इनकम। सो ऐसी सूरत विच गवर्नमेंट उन लोगों वास्ते कि जेडे लोग सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयड सन उन्होंने वास्ते भी एक स्कीम गवर्नमेंट जी है ना वो इंट्रोड्यूस की है और उस स्कीम ना जरा उन्होंने ना रखा है वो रखा सी क्लेम ए ग्रांट थ्रू द कोरोना वायरस कोविड-19 सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयमेंट इनकम सपोर्ट। सो अगर थोड़ी जॉब जी खत्म होगी इस वजह तो कोरोना वायरस की वजह तो जी सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयमेंट है तो तुसा उन्होंने जरिए भी तुसा उसकी क्लेम कर सकते हो लेकिन उस वास्ते मुश्किलात है ना कि तुसा उस वक्त तक उसकी क्लेम न कर सकने जब तक तुसा पिछले 3 साल ने जेडे तुसा ने सेल्फ असेसमेंट वो सबमिट ना होए ओसन नॉर्मली तुसा 2018 2019 ने नॉर्मली जेडे तुसने उसने सेल्फ असेसमेंट जेडे फॉर्म्स न उसको सबमिट कर सकने हो सितंबर कुछ केसेस जनवरी तक भी डिपेंड करना लेकिन वो जेडे अकाउंट्स जेडे ना वो ड्यू हो जाने न बाय द 5th ऑफ अप्रैल गवर्नमेंट उसनी डेडलाइन जी एक्सटेंड करी तो ये गल आख्या कि जिन्हें लोगों ने सबमिट किए तो बाय द 23rd ऑफ अप्रैल उसकी कम करो कि सबमिट करो। अगर तुम हाले तक नहीं सबमिट किए अपने अकाउंटेंट नाल रब्ता करो और ताकि तुम अपडेट हो जाओ HMRC ने जो सिस्टम है उस पर और जिसमें तुसा क्लेम करो तो ये सारी इंफॉर्मेशन गवर्नमेंट को मौजूद होगा क्योंकि वो एक करसन की जी एवरेज इनकम है सोने की 3 साल ने जो अकाउंट्स न उन्हें सारे की एक करसन जमा करी तो मुड़ी डिवाइड करसन 3 साल पर और जी तुसों की इनकम बनसी वो तुसों की पर मंथ ने हिसाब नाल 3 महीने वास्ते तो एक करसन तुसों के अकाउंट में बाई उठसन। लेकिन अगर तुसा जो अकाउंट्स न सबमिट ना किए तो HMRC की वैबसाइट पर वेरी क्लीयरली एक गल लिखा होना कि तुम फिर क्लेम न कर सकने तो मैं समझना कि फिर ऐसी सूरत च तुसों नुकसान हो जासी और तुसानी जी जायज जिला तुसाना हक है वो तुसों की ना लभसी या उसके अंदर तुसों की मुश्किलात हो सन दोबारा। लेकिन माड़ी एडवाइस पर मुकम्मल तुसों की अमल करने की जरूरत को नहीं है ना मैं इस एडवाइस वास्ते रिस्पॉन्सिबल हाँ तो ना ही जम्मू कश्मीर टेलीविजन माड़ी इस एडवाइस वास्ते रिस्पॉन्सिबल है कि कल अगर कोई गल रंग हो जानी तो तुसें गल आहो कि असा क्लेम करसा मरूफ ने खिलाफ या क्लेम करसा जम्मू कश्मीर टेलीविजन ने खिलाफ असा क्लियरली तुसें की गल आखने असा इस एडवाइस वास्ते जिम्मेदार ना होने असा तुसें की खाली गाइडेंस जी दे रहे हैं थोड़ी जी मालूमात जी प्रोवाइड कर रही हैं लेकिन HMRC नी वैबसाइट है उस पर ये सारी इंफॉर्मेशन जी है वो मौजूद है तुम उत्थे चेक कर सकते हो नहीं तो अपने अकाउंटेंट नाल रब्ता करी तो तुम उन्होंने ये गल आखी सकते हो कि वो तुसों की एडवाइस करन नहीं तो सिटीजन एडवाइस ब्यूरो की रब्ता कर सकते हो होर जिहड़ियां तुसें कोई लीगल एडवाइजर होई सकने उन्होंने रब्ता कर सकते हो और ये जी मालूमात है इसने बारे फर्दर तुसां मालूमात किनी तो तुसां क्लेम जितना जल्दी ओसी ओ तुसां पहला वो क्लेम करे लेकिन ये जी स्कीम है सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयमेंट लोगों वास्ते ये हाले लाइव नहीं हुई है ये मिडल ऑफ मई च जाई तो कुदरा लाइव ओसी और जी पहली तुसों की जी कोई पैसे न वो जाई तो अर्ली जून च लभसन उस तो पहले तुसों की ये नहीं लभनगे। सो इस वास्ते लेकिन उस वास्ते रेडी हो जाओ 23rd तो पहले ताकि तुसां फिर एक कम करो कि कुछ लूज ना करी जाओ ये पैसे इस वास्ते जितनी जल्दी मुमकिन हो सकना अपने अकाउंटेंट रब्ता करो और एक कम करो कि एक क्लेम करो। अज नहीं जो सारा प्रोग्राम है वो इतना ही सी मैं तमाम नाजरीन ना बेहद मशकूर हाँ जम्मू कश्मीर टेलीविजन ना बेहद मशकूर हाँ मेरे बैकग्राउंड च जेडे दोस्त मिगी असिस्ट करी रहे ये प्रोग्राम करने च वो नामवर जेडे साफी भी न नामवर प्रेजेंटर न आम आदमी ने जो प्रोग्राम है उसने प्रेजेंटर न तफूर अकबर साहब मैं उन्होंने शुक्रिया अदा करना कि उन्होंने असिस्ट कर रहे हैं। राशिद खान साहब जेडे वो भी जेह्ड़े इक प्रोग्राम ने जेह्ड़े हैन ओह् प्रेजेंटर ओह् बी असेंगी असिस्ट कीते असां जम्मू कश्मीर टेलीविजन दी प्रेजेंटर्स दी जेह्ड़ी सारी टीम है शेफील्ड ने मैं उन्होंने बेहद मशहूर हाँ अपने कौंसल जिम स्टैंकी साहब ना मशहूर हाँ और एज ए होल जम्मू कश्मीर टेलीविजन ना भी मैं मशहूर हाँ कि जिन्ना असांखे मौका दिता तो असां इस प्रोग्राम ने जरिए अपने लोगों की जितनी मदद हो सकनी जिन तक उनको मालूमात पहुँचाने की साढ़े अंदर बसात है काबलियत है असां पहुँचाने की कोशिश कर रही हैं मैं दुआ करसा कि इस मुश्किल वक्त अल्लाह ताला साढ़े इस जड़ा मुल्क है इसकी बखैर खूबी साढ़े लोगों की तमाम जितनी इस पब्लिक है पूरी दुनिया के अंदर जितने भी इंसानियत इंसान अल्लाह ताला उन्होंने जी मुश्किल वक्त उन्हें बनाया उस तो अल्लाह ताला उन्होंने कढ़े और इस मुश्किल वक्त तो बाहर निकला और दोबारा वो खुशियाँ दोबारा वो खुशहाली जी पूरी दुनिया ने अंदर वापस अच्छा है ताकि सासा बच्चे ने बेहतरीन तरीके तरबियत कर सकें ताकि वो बेहतरीन शहरी बन सकन और अच्छी जी नस्लां उन्होंने वो कम करने की खिदमत कर सकन मैं इस गल पर सो कि इजाजत चाहसा अगर होर को फर्दर सो वो सवाल है लिंक अवेलेबल हो सी उत्थे तुस अपना सवाल कम करे कि पूछे और इंशाल्लाह मैं कोशिश करसा कि उसने बारे की पूरी मालूमात दें और जी भी हमारे को इंफॉर्मेशन है तुसों की पास ऑन करा तो इस गल पर मैं खुदा हाफिज़ आखसा शब खैर